Welcome to Snyder's Inc., where the fun never ends. Reactions, gaming, and more with Josh as your friend. Tune in, buckle up, it's a ride you don't wanna miss. Snyder's Inc., let's dive in, feel the ultimate bliss.
Welcome to Snyder's Inc., and today we got a wrestling reaction. This is the top 10 greatest rivals of Shawn Michaels' career. This is from Parts of Unknown. We go get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment, stick down below. Let's go.
He thinks he's cute. He knows he's sexy. He's got the book. And it drives NXT wild. Yeah, Shawn Michaels' NXT has been equal parts excellent matches and utter nonsense, as seen by Dijak whipping a tree. But that makes sense considering who is putting these shows together. Michael Shawn Hickenbottom is considered by many to be the greatest wrestler of all time, and over the course of his over 2-decade-long career, he had more than his fair share of excellent matches and utter nonsense. And loads of people to share them with. HB Shizzle is the focus of this month's Greatest Rivalries list, a list that promises to be both excellent and utter nonsense, just like Shawn Michaels himself. I'm Tempest, hailing from Parts of Unknown, and these are the 10 greatest rivals of Shawn Michaels' career.
Number 1 is Bret motherfucking Hart. It will always be Bret Hart. It can be anyone but Bret Hart.
But before we get on with this list, please make sure that you like this video.
I guess The Undertaker is a good number 1 too, but I feel it has to be Bret.
Subscribe and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it. And make sure you check out the plethora of other greatest rivals lists that we have done on this channel. We've done Kenny Omega, John Cena, The Undertaker, Triple H, Chris Jericho. There's loads to choose from, so check them out. Number 10, Mankind. Not one of Shawn Michaels' most famous rivals, but anyone who has seen In Your House Mind Games will know that Mankind belongs on this list. Hell, their main event is the only reason anyone would ever remember that Mind Games even happened. Sure.
I need to watch that match. I haven't watched that in a long time.
As hell isn't Goldust versus The Undertaker or Jim Cornette versus Jose Lothario. Mick Foley offered a completely new challenge to babyface world champion Shawn Michaels than he had faced previously, coming right off his SummerSlam rivalry with Vader, who had offered Shawn the challenge of actually punching him in the face. Mankind was a psychological villain and an incredibly creative mind when it came to not only the construction of a rivalry, but of a match, leading to what he called the best match of his career for quite some time with Shawn at Mind Games. A 4 3/4 star match deep in mid-90s WWF was not common, but you put two of the all-time greats in the ring together, and that is precisely what you get. If it weren't the mid-90s in the WWF, there probably wouldn't have been a DQ finish to be the one negative footnote on an otherwise classic rivalry. Number 9, Ric Flair. In the alternate universe where Ric Flair...
It's your boy. The one at WrestleMania. It's a good feud, and it's a good feud because of the fact that Flair wants to end his career, and Michaels is being much didn't want to, but Flair pushed him to. And he's like, okay, if you don't want to face me at WrestleMania to take you out, I'll take you out. Pretty much that's the way it went.
Flair had his last match in 2008 and not in 2022, he and Michaels' rivalry would rank even higher on their list. But we live in this universe with 73-year-old Ric Flair bleeding buckets 14 years after he and Shawn had one of the most emotional retirement matches of all time at WrestleMania 24.
Fuck Ric Flair for coming back. Why did Rick have to do that? Why can't Rick just stay in the home where he belongs? Stop letting Ric Flair out of the house. It just goes bad for him.
So this will go right here. Shawn Michaels 2008 holds a near and dear place in my heart for reasons we'll get to later, but all of the stories that spawned throughout the year for HBK started with his WrestleMania rivalry with the Nature Boy. There are so many things that could be brought up for this. Flair's Old Yeller promo, I'm sorry, I love you, the grandeur of the match. It's these things that linked Flair and Michaels even since Flair broke his retirement. And, on a somewhat separate note, these two had another great match at Bad Blood 2003. Not even a fraction as legendary, but just as worthy a watch. Number 8, John Cena. This is a rivalry that meant a lot more to the career of John Cena than it did Shawn Michaels. Check out our John Cena's Greatest Rivals list to see just how much more, but for Shawn, it represented probably the most high-profile rivalry he had during his second go-around in the Fed. It doesn't get much more high-profile than the main event of the biggest
was the main event of WrestleMania. He then goes a fucking 40 minute match on Raw. Stealing the show like only the showstopper can. Proving why he is, I don't care, that one of the greatest in the history of the business. Shawn Michaels is. He just is.
WrestleMania to date over the WWE Championship against the biggest star in the company, after all. You probably wouldn't expect John Cena circa 2007 to be one of Shawn Michaels' best in-ring rivals, but somehow that was the case. Whether it be a half-hour WrestleMania Classic or a full-hour Raw Broadway in England, or one of the best four-ways with Edge and Randy Orton at Backlash, or even a super underrated Raw match in January of 2009, Big Match John and Big Match Shawn lived up to their names every time they got in the ring together. It may have meant more in the grand scheme of Cena's career, but this rivalry is a huge reason why HB Shizzle's second WWE tenure is so highly regarded. Number 7, Marty Jannetty. After nearly 7 straight years of hard liquor, booger sugar, travel, and classic matches, the Rockers had what some might call a rocky relationship. Enough bumps will do that to a team, and I ain't talking about flatbacks. Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels' legacy as a tag team has grown to legendary status as one of the most influential teams of their era, in many ways starting the lineage of the Rockers to the Hardys to the Young Bucks that still felt today. Their work was tremendous, and their year-long feud with Buddy Rose and Doug Summers from the AWA was long listed for this video, but their work as rivals is what lands.
Buddy Rose, I've never watched one of their matches, but I really want to watch a match between the Rockers and Buddy Rose and Doug Summers. That sounds like a match I actually want to see, but I've never been able to find it. I don't know if I can find it on the network. I don't know where to look.
Marty a deserving spot. The Barbershop is the tag team breakup all others are measured against, and the ensuing matches the two had on Raw over the Intercontinental Championship were some of the best the show had in its inaugural season. No one else was wrestling like the Rockers at the time, and it shows. Personally, my favorite part of all this is anytime both Rockers were in the ring together in any Royal Rumble match, that shit was on sight. Real rivals. We need more like that. Number 6, Kurt Angle. For my money, no.
I actually do wish they had more rivalries like that, where two people, no matter what they're doing, no matter who they're rivaling, if you're in the ring with them, it's on site and they start fighting. Like, I wish there was more rivalries like that. This is my favorite WrestleMania match of all time. This is my favorite WrestleMania match of all freaking time, is this match right here.
No one has ever had a better WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels than Kurt Angle, including some folks yet to show up on this list. Sexy Kurt's and everything aside for a moment, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels had an incredibly simple story going into WrestleMania 21. Who is the best wrestler? A question asked in the wrestling fandom every day, asked by the two best wrestlers in WWE at the time. And what resulted was a match worthy of two men being asked that question of. If you have seen my list of 10 favorite WWE matches ever, you'll know that match is number 1. It's perfect, and I love it dearly.
It is.
But what doesn't get
I love every match of it.
mentioned nearly enough are the other matches these two had throughout 2005. Their match at Vengeance is a worthy sequel, and their 30-minute Iron Man match in October is a fitting conclusion to a near year-long rivalry. They weren't linked to each other week in and week out all year, but they continued to be drawn back to one another by the simple question of who is better. Sexy Kurt and Sexy Shawn were the perfect entertainers to add some humor to things to keep things spicy, but this is a perfect example of the simplest stories being the best ones. Number 5, Triple H. At its peak, Triple H and...
Of course. It was always, like, Triple H is always going to be on this list. They had a freaking 2-year-long rivalry that just could never end.
Shawn Michaels wrestling one another was peak pro wrestling soap opera drama, as seen at SummerSlam 2002. But at its worst, it was horribly self-indulgent, as seen with their 47-minute Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 2004. It is impossible to ignore the history between the two men, probably the most intertwined pair on this list, and it is that history and their greatest moments that overshadow any of their weaker moments. Shawn has said that there was no one else that he would have felt comfortable having his return match with in 2002, which tells you all you need to know about the connection between them. I do always think of Trips and Shawn as partners these days, maybe because I've seen 5 too many DX reunions, but that doesn't change the fact that this was the rivalry that was the focus of Raw for nearly 2 years.
Yep.
And personally, I just love the match they had on the last Raw of 2003, even with its dusty finish. Just thought I'd throw that in there because you should watch it if you haven't already. Number 4, Razor Ramon. Ain't nobody
hello to Razor Ramon. Oh, I love Razor Ramon. I love Scott Hall. I love the Razor Ramon character, man.
with the click, 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 click. Ain't nobody fresher than the click, 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 click. That's right, they didn't do it like the Click in the 90s, and in 1994 the 2 most high-profile members of the group were Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall. Friends since years prior, the 2 brought that real-life chemistry to the ring and made history. Not only did they have the trend-setting ladder match at WrestleMania 10, but they also had another one. The rematch at SummerSlam 1995 that some would argue is the superior match of the 2, with Shawn now able to play babyface, a role more suited to the smaller of the 2 in a ladder match setting, helped to properly put a stamp on the Shawn-Razor rivalry and propel Shawn even further up the corporate ladder. There have been loads of rivalries in Shawn's career where he has had great matches and told great stories, some of which we've talked about, some of which we've yet to get to, but few on this list helped Shawn get to a new level in his career, quite like the bad guy. Number 3, Chris Jericho.
Oh, this rivalry, no, 03 is a good one. 08 is freaking stupendous. Sorry, my eyes are getting watery. Jericho is someone who was meant to feud with Shawn Michaels. They were meant to feud together. They were meant to always intertwine with each other. Chris Jericho as a heel, as a snarly, suit-wearing, talk-slowly heel, was the perfect rival for Shawn Michaels. And it was the rivalry of 2008. It was the rivalry of all of wrestling in 2008. Fucking amazing.
Oh, Lord, are the 56 seconds I spend per entry not enough time to talk about how brilliant the rivalry between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels was. If there was only their WrestleMania 19 match and feud to talk about, this rivalry would still be a contender for this list. It's that good. But what puts this in top contention, not only on this list, but on the list of all WWE rivalries, is what they did in 2008. Yep. The first great rivalry that I ever saw in full as it was happening. Baby's first WWE. I really don't have time to go through it beat by beat. Hell, I made a 28-minute YouTube video talking about it. But what made this story so great was the variance of the 4 pay-per-view matches they had over the course of their rivalry, matches made so different by the ever-evolving yet always believable motives of each character. Jericho is unsure whether to trust Michaels after HBK faked an injury. Jericho tries to end Shawn's career after turning his back on the fans for hypocritically backing Shawn after lying. Shawn gets revenge for Jericho punching his wife, then a battle over a championship. I have never been so engaged by one story start to finish in WWE. I bow to you both. Number 2, The Undertaker. I really wanted to put Jericho even higher, but honestly, there's no denying the
Yeah, Undertaker. Michaels had 2 of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. Not the best, because they will always be Shawn Kurt. But I can see why Taker and Michaels will be up there for both matches. These 2, another thing, they always just cross paths. And they always would end up just crossing each other. And every time it was really good shit. These 2 are a really good feud for each other.
Historical significance of Shawn's rivalry with Killian the Deadman Fibian. From their 90s rivalry where Shawn got trapped in a box with Mark Spookums at Bad Blood, and their rematch where Shawn trapped the Earl of Demise in an even smaller box at the Royal Rumble, to being directly tied together over the course of 4 straight WrestleManias. These 2 just always felt like perfect parallels. They always seemed able to find their way back to one another in magical ways. Even in short bursts, like being the final 2 of the 2007 Royal Rumble, or the first 2 of the 2008 Royal Rumble, put these 2 in a ring and a level of reverence came with it. And of course, there is no better display of that than their clash at WrestleMania 25. A match so good that it convinced WWE to give The Undertaker no other WrestleMania stories for the next 3 years, ultimately culminating in a Hell in a Cell match that was an end of an era. It wasn't, but this entry is easier to wrap up if we pretend it was. And number 1, Bret Hart.
It was always going to be Bret Hart. There's literally no one it can be but Bret Hart. It has to be Bret Hart. It's an insane, it's a rival that went in and out of the ring. It is just, it's the rivalry that defines Shawn Michaels. It's always going to be Bret Hart.
I mean, my God, right? Honestly, if strictly based on their work together in the ring, I don't know that Bret Hart would be in the top half of this list. They didn't have bad matches together, but they never had the unrivaled classics you would expect the two best of the new generation era to have. I probably like their Survivor Series 1992 match the best, even if Shawn was not at a main event level of star power, but the rest are just alright. Their Iron Man match really isn't that interesting, Montreal isn't much of a match, and their ladder match is more of a demonstration of a concept than what we would get later. But this one isn't about the matches. It is about just sheer amounts of unadulterated beef. Real life beef. The kind of beef that if WWE knew what was best for them would have resulted in the highest pay-per-view buys ever, and instead resulted in the Montreal Screwjob, the time the showstopper literally stopped the show. This the kind of heat that people spend 25 years talking about, and any rivalry that has that kind of effect on the business has to be regarded as being on a tier all its own. And that's our...
It's true. It is true. Anyone who could have a rivalry that goes for 20 plus years, people just arguing about it, is the best, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought of this in the comments. Let me know what your favorite Shawn Michaels rivalry is. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.